Okay, welcome everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Holler if you can't. But we have Ed Wonder, right? Correct.
Yes.
All right. So Ed, he grew up in a health conscious household, but started on the journey of exploring new wellness tools and solutions while he was flying fighter jets in the Air Force. So it's super cool. Eventually, he discovered molecular hydrogen for health and designed a machine that would make it truly accessible and practical to use. He's the founder of Hydrogen Research LLC, which makes various machines that produce molecular hydrogen for home and clinical use and serve customers around the world. So first, tell me, Ed, I know we were chatting a little bit before, but what did you fly in the Air Force?
I was backseat on the F4. I was in the National Guard. So I was fortunate enough, my unit did not have any front seats. So I asked a backseater at an air show, would he do it if he had to do it again? He's like, it's absolutely awesome. Yes, I would. So I took his advice, and it is absolutely awesome. I really like physical, and I really like mental a lot, both of those a lot. And as you would know, flying is the kind of the best mashup of both of those things.
Yeah, definitely. So then this is awesome. F4, man, that is an awesome aircraft. Very like if you're into flying, people love the F4. It's just very nostalgic.
That's crazy.
Cool. Yeah, very loud and powerful.
Yes.
So tell me explain to us how you started by flying in the Air Force, how you started down this path that led you to here.
Well, as you would know, flight physicals are very demanding. So you don't want to have any kind of bad reason for getting kicked out. That was one thing that I didn't have any control of when I went in for my first flight physical. Basically, you're at a state in your health and in your life that you've kind of built up to that point, right? And you go in there. And so in my case, just a quick diversion, I didn't know this at the time, but their EKG machine was screwed up. So they're like, you've got some serious heart issues. I'm like, I'm running 6-minute miles. I'm like killing it. I'm lifting, I'm running, I'm working out like crazy and healthy as a horse. And I've always had tons of energy. And it's like, okay, so I had to go and get a really thorough stress EKG. Turned out I actually had right axis deviation, which means your heart's younger than your age. And it turned out their machine was screwed up. So anyway, long story short, those are very stressful things to go through. The flight physicals, the flight surgeon, they kind of try and be your friend, but they're kind of the enemy, right? They're trying to keep you grounded. So
nobody likes going there.
Go ahead, say again.
I was gonna say nobody likes going to them.
Oh no. And then your eyesight's similar. So I'm always looking for advantages. Thankfully, I've been blessed with superior health my entire life. So I've had tons of energy. You don't want to see me on caffeine. So it's a gift that I've been given. So as I've gone through my life, and I've seen other people haven't been given that gift. So when I came across hydrogen, it's like nothing else that I've ever come across as far as a health adjunct. And not only a health adjunct for healthy people, but seriously can do 90-degree turns at 100,000 miles an hour with sick people. I've seen deathbed recuperations and all kinds of craziness with this technology. So it can have a very powerful effect, and it's kind of what I want to talk a little bit about. Why is that? Where did it come from? How did it come into our current purview at this time in history? Because literally, the next slide, I think, will be 1793 was the first time they saw health benefits from hydrogen. It was shortly after they discovered water electrolysis, putting electricity into water, and bubbles are coming off, and they're like, what are those bubbles? And they figured it out. So we've come a long way since that time, and there was a period of time where there was miraculous stories that were really kind of crazy and off the scale of people getting massive healing and things like that. And so a couple of doctors took the time in 2005 to really do a deep dive into it and published what they found in 2007. So that's where we are today, building on the shoulders of those men. And yeah, it's been a pretty crazy ride. So let's jump into it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So it is an all-natural antioxidant. It's all-natural anti-inflammatory. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to qualify this. I don't know if I have it in the slides, but it balances oxidation stress because that's actually necessary in our body. It's not the enemy all the time. Same with inflammation. Inflammation is critical for the body to heal. And so you've got both acute and then chronic inflammation. The chronic is the one that's the problem. And technically speaking, acute is not, but the body's propensity to overreact leads to pain and things like that. And we'll see that molecular hydrogen takes care of that. So first take a look at what hydrogen is, tales of incredible cures of studies, the actions in the body, medical usage, and we'll probably cut it short about there and we'll talk about, we'll go into questions and things like that. But if we have time, concussions, TBI, CTE, as again, this was kind of geared towards the NFL at that time. So really crazy stuff. So hydrogen is the smallest element. It's one proton and one electron. There are isotopes that have a neutron too, but those are like undesirable, generally speaking. So you want to stay away from those. It's the lightest element. It actually goes up, wants to go straight up into the air at 50 miles an hour. So it's even faster than a helium balloon. It's the most abundant element, but it's not really naturally available. You need something to break it apart and break it up. And one of those things that we have in our body right now, and everyone viewing this webinar has this right now. If you were to get a breathalyzer that had a sensitive enough meter, it would detect hydrogen in your breath that you're exhaling. And that's because you've got these wonderful bacteria in your gut that are, sometimes if you eat too many bean burritos, you might experience a little too much hydrogen. But yeah, they're down there and they're making it, and it is available, but it's just not enough to really tip the needle for us when we've got severe issues. And that's one of the reasons why it's not a novel element. It actually is already known in the body, it knows how to use it. And when we give it more, it uses it very effectively. So 1793 is the report of the first health results. Again, like I said, when they first started cracking the water, putting 2 electrodes in, hooked to a battery, they found the results of that. In Lourdes in France, people have heard of that, miraculous cures there. It was 150 years later when they found out that it was actually the hydrogen in the water causing some of those. And I'm not talking about the miraculous cures that there's no explanation for, but a lot of times, a lot of people feel much better. And the other clue that it was something right there and fragile is that people would take that water home and sometimes the effects were not there. So 60s, 70s, 80s, water electrolysis devices come out. NASA's patenting water electrolysis technology in the 60s, in the space initiative. They're kind of doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's when all these crazy cures of serious disease and conditions started to make their way into the consciousness of humanity. So in 2005, an MD, Dr. Ota and Dr. Ono in Japan, they said, we're going to put this to rest. Either this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, or it's a complete snake oil thing that people are just, placebo effect to the max. And they set out to do and find out what's going on in a lab. So they published a landmark study in 2007 in the journal Nature Medicine. I do have that study. If people are interested, I could give it to you and you could pass that on. It's a little scientific, but not terribly so. And what they found was it was even better than they expected, because it's always massively beneficial to the human body. It never does anything harmful to the body. There's no unsafe upper limit. There's no addiction. There's no dependency on it. And like that last statement says, more is finally better. People are like, if some is good, more is better, right? In this case, it is. So there was a follow-up in 2013 where they kind of zoomed in on a bunch of conditions and took a deeper look into what was actually going on. That is a very incredible read, and the wide array of things that it has impact on is very impressive. So the results are now in with their studies, and now massive research has come out. They're actually using these machines in China for people with COVID, with breathing issues. There's one video I remember, a woman was in a hospital bed, and she said she felt, when she came in, she felt like an elephant was sitting on her chest. She couldn't breathe. Within 10 minutes, she was breathing more easily with this same technology that we sell. So it's a mixed gas technology. It's not the pure hydrogen that they've done studies with, but it's hard to, when there's multiple things going on, multiple moving parts, scientists kind of want to keep one thing, one input and one output. And so that's what they're trying to do, is trying to dig deep in. I don't really care about that. I just care about results. And that's why we have the machines we have. So at the time when I wrote this, it was about 850. I think it's over 1,200 now. Number of human studies are about the same, because they kind of just are in the same categories, but a lot of stuff going on there. Zero number of drug interactions. Again, the reason this is because hydrogen's already in everyone's body. So if anyone on this webinar is taking medications right now, it's not going to have any deleterious side effects there. Contraindications, side effects, again, because it's already been cooked into the equation by having that available in the body when it was being tested in clinical trials, et cetera. No overdose potential or toxicity level. The Navy has dived with this gas. It's called Hydrox. They also have a thing called Heliox, where it's helium and oxygen. But they've done up to 98% hydrogen and 2% oxygen to depths 600 feet and greater with no issues in the human body. Again, no addictions, no habit formation. You use it, the body is wonderful. If it can fix something while it has it in there, it will do that. Otherwise, it will, it's mainly corrective in its effect, but sometimes it is palliative. So basically, there's a website called hydrogenstudies.com, just like it sounds, STUDIES, all one word. And you can put in brain, kidney, eyes, lung, pancreas. They will tell you all the studies that are out there that deal with this. MECFS is on there too. You can look that up. A lot of studies for that. But inflammation is massively involved in a lot of these things. The treatments are, again, almost everything that we suffer from has a good effect from hydrogen. And in some cases where they've done the research in the lab with only hydrogen out of a cylinder, like a gas cylinder, and applying it, or making it from a machine that separates, it makes the hydrogen and oxygen separately, and you can use them one at a time. We've seen that those are not as powerful as the machines that we sell, but so we've had several testimonials where conditions on this page may not have been helped by hydrogen. So I think it's really the first Hippocratic medicine, first do no harm. It's a very powerful but selective antioxidant. It always moves the body towards homeostasis. They have never seen it put the body out of balance. So I tell people when I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't give medical advice. And so I do suggest that people who start using hydrogen in their life just get rid of all forms of synthetic vitamin C. And the reason is because it's an indiscriminate antioxidant. If it bumps into anything that it can react with, it easily gives up the hydrogen molecule or the hydrogen atom into the chemistry reaction. And even like hydrogen peroxide that's necessary for cell signaling or the immune system function can be scavenged by synthetic vitamin C. If the hydrogen peroxide is out of balance, the hydrogen will scavenge it. Otherwise, it respects the balance and moves on. So it will take care of, and also nitric oxide is technically a free radical. We don't think of nitrogen as being an oxidation species, but it is. It's 78% of our atmosphere, and it can cause problems in the body too. So there's some nasty things that nitrogen can do in the body too, and hydrogen will take care of that too. And the last statement there, it's highly anti-inflammatory. When you talk hydrogen, or when you're talking about inflammation, hydrogen is the word you need. It's amazing in what it does there. So it's cytoprotective, acts to protect cells, neuroprotective, which protects the nerves, the ganglion, all the structures there for nerve transmission. Hepatoprotective, that's the blood. It does easily cross the blood-brain barrier with no issues there. So, but again, it doesn't do any mischief while it's up there. So some things you don't want to cross the blood-brain barrier. In this case, hydrogen easily crosses and does wonderful things up there. It also restores and optimizes mitochondrial function. I know there's a lot of concerns in this community with that. And the interesting thing is it will balance mitochondrial function. So every cell in the body, every cell type or class has a different number of mitochondria. And what they found is that it's a mitochondria biogenesis agent, meaning if there's not enough mitochondria, it will spur the cell to produce more. So this actually, to get up to the actual count where it's supposed to be. And so this is why sometimes people breathing hydrogen gas or being exposed to hydrogen will get a lot of energy, because it will start to spur the body to create more mitochondria. And of course, they're going to put out the ATP and everything else. So epigenetics, switching on and off of genes, it protects against that. So it's always going to move the body again towards proper function and away from dysfunction. And the free radicals that it does interact with are reduced to water. So one of the pictures I like to paint in people's brains, when you're taking an antioxidant, it's kind of like ordering something on Amazon, right? They ship it out, but when it comes to you, it comes in a box and you want the thing inside, but then you have to take care of this box. What do? You're going to throw it out, burn it, recycle it, whatever. But you have to handle that box. So a lot of these complex antioxidants, and I'm not talking about the nutritional value of that. So I'm just talking about the oxidation potential of that food source. A lot of them are complex. So once the hydrogen's donated, because basically it's just donating the hydrogen to the reaction to quench that fire of burning with oxidation, what happens is then the body has to process and remove the the box that it came in, all the other stuff. So the nice thing about hydrogen is you can give it to people who are very far down the bad health pathway without putting undue burden on their health. I've seen a man rejuvenated. Again, this is FDA disclaimers out the yin yang. Your mileage may vary. But I've been present where the MD doctor, his wife, thought he was going to be dead before morning, and 10.5 hours later, he's as pink as a newborn baby. When I got there, he was gray, ashen gray, looked like he was ready for the casket right then, almost completely unresponsive. And 10.5 hours later, getting up, going to the bathroom by himself, getting back into bed, putting the cannula black on, and pink as a newborn baby. So this stuff has very powerful effects in the body. And I'm not saying that's all hydrogen, because there's other elements in the gas in the machines we sell that are also aiding towards that. But yes, it's very gentle and can be used with people of very old age, people in their 90s and beyond, very young people as well. It's universal. So reduces the hydroxyl radical. That's one that's kind of people experiencing arthritis. That's one they know very well, even though may not know it by name. They know the pain involved. They know the synovial fluid being destroyed. They know the cartilage being destroyed in their joints, and they know the inflammation in those joints very well. So it regulates the cellular functions up, down, but again, it always leads to homeostasis, which is the perfect balance of the body. So it exists in stable form, that's H2. So when we talk about oxygen, we don't call it molecular oxygen, although that's what O2 actually is. It's the stable form of oxygen. So molecular hydrogen is just a stable form. It's kind of a buddy system. It joins together with another atom and then is stable until it needs to react. And the bond is tight enough where it doesn't react unnecessarily, which is a really good thing. And so it does easily separate with very severe free radicals. It's neither hydrophilic nor hydrophobic. So one of the challenges of some of the antioxidants that are out there is they're hydrophilic, which means they're attracted to water or they're water-based. So the cells are all surrounded by a little layer of fat. So sometimes it's hard to get into the cell. Hydrogen easily penetrates into the cell and gets to the nucleus. So they really still don't know. I mean, I wrote this many years ago, this presentation, and they're still talking about not knowing the exact mechanisms. They can see and observe, but they're kind of scratching their head going, what's going on here? Western medicine has a pretty big chemistry bent. And the more I observe and the more I talk to people and customers and things like that and see their reactions and what happens with them, I'm starting to think it's more energetic, that hydrogen is a very energy sensitive atom. So it's an element. It's very, very specific when it's advantageous for the body to do a reaction and when it's not, and it respects that order. So when it does interact with a free radical like hydroxyl radical, it creates water. Again, this is go back to the Amazon box that comes, you need to get rid of it. The body has to process all that extra stuff, especially from something like ascorbic acid, which is a synthetic vitamin C. When it's done with the things that it needs, it still has to process that, and that burdens the body. So in this case, it's water. So the water can either be used by the body or excreted. So sometimes people that are first exposed to hydrogen will go to the bathroom a lot. Go to the bathroom number one a lot. That would be urine for people in Europe who might not know. But yeah, that's a good side effect. It shows that all those free radicals have been neutralized and are coming out of the body right now. It also will flush toxins out as well with that same water. So the body can either use or eliminate that. So it does restore balance. It upregulates good cellular functions, and this is especially important with inflammation because it upregulates the enzymes or cytokines that actually reduce inflammation, because there are good cytokines. We always hear about cytokine storms, bad, right? But there are good enzymes that are also known as cytokines that are upregulated that reduce inflammation, downregulates the cytokines that are bad and controls that. Cellular apoptosis is a big one. A lot of times when people are aging, there's a thing called senescent cells, and they're aged cells. They're very they're tired and they're confused. It's like, well, do I hang on or do I go? Cellular apoptosis is really specific in if the cell is not functioning right, it knows to basically, it's programmed to cell death, meaning it kills itself and goes away. That way the body can replace it with a cell that's working correctly. So having hydrogen in the body will also reduce the drag of senescent cells, the cells that are tired and aren't working well, because they'll wake up and go away. This also has influence in cancer as well, because cancer cells are confused as well and hanging around. So it helps to regulate apoptosis in cancer situations as well. And the cell modulating property to correct cellular dysfunction. Again, that is all a big drag on the body, on the energy levels. So as the hydrogen is circulating through the body, it's able to interact and start restoring all this to proper function. It helps to repair DNA damage. This is very interesting, and the RNA damage, because we've got some people here who have had the mRNA shots. I don't really have any customers who are specifically looking for RNA or done any testing on these, but I'd be very interested. I don't know that it's widely known, but the survivors, the body's an amazing machine for health. And I want to put this out there because I know some people are very despondent with what's going on with their body, but I was told years and years ago by a naturopath that the body has a tremendous ability to heal itself. You just have to give it what it needs to get out of the way. So one of the things that hydrogen does is help things get out of the way. Now, nutritional things are another matter, with shortages of minerals, especially. Some of the meds actually cause minerals to be drained from the body. So those would have to be corrected. But in the case, and this is kind of what I wanted to go back to, in the case of DNA and RNA damage, what they found was they studied the survivors of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bombs, the Japanese people who had DNA and RNA damage. And believe it or not, their bodies corrected that over time. So that was not a life sentence for them. So hydrogen can help both of these things to start going and getting back under control. So like we talked about before, it passes into the cell, the mitochondria, it helps mitochondrial creation, and then it even penetrates to the cell nucleus, which very few things do. So up in the upper left is the OH, which is the hydroxyl radical, and then some people call it it's peroxynitrite. It's the some people call it the ONO oxidation species, which are very good. So it downregulates those, takes care of those. SOD and catalase are increased. You can see the anti-inflammation markers that are reduced. Cytoprotection, all these things you can look up. I'm not going to go through them today. We don't have the time, but it regulates all of this stuff. So it isn't just, there isn't just one pathway where it goes after inflammation, which is the good news, because if that pathway is having problems in your particular situation, it can find other ways to reduce that inflammation. Here's some relative sizes of antioxidants. You can see CoQ10 is massive, vitamin C is massive, vitamin E, glutathione. By the way, molecular hydrogen has been shown to be a glutathione biogenesis agent as well. So it actually increases glutathione, which has very interesting ramifications because that's the main antioxidant in your eyes, in the ocular fluid. So again, never perturbs homeostasis, no payload or reaction, byproducts for the body to remove, which is very nice. So it's very bioavailable. It goes everywhere. There's nothing that can, it goes through your skin, your muscles, tendons, ligaments, bones. You can lay down on the cup. It'll go through the brain, into your brain, flow into your brain. It just, there's no way to keep it out and going through anything. Even they have to really look at exotic metals to contain it. Aluminum actually works very well. Most people are afraid of it, but you don't have to fear it. There's this thing called aluminum oxide that forms when you put drinking water in bare aluminum, and it seals it without anything. So if you have an unlined aluminum water bottle and you wanted to infuse water in that and drink that, that would store your hydrogen for the longest. But again, we talked about these other ones. Ghrellin's interesting because it's a hormone that actually downregulates the inflammation response as well. So it's highly anti-inflammatory. Think about this when you're thinking about that, because it just has multiple pathways to reduce the inflammation. And it also respects, so there's two types of inflammation. One is acute when you have an injury, and the other is chronic. And chronic is the one that's really, really bad and needs to be controlled, and hydrogen does a wonderful job with that. But even acute, so when we have acute, the body tends to overreact. I may have said this earlier, and that's where you have a lot of pain in an area, and a lot of that isn't necessary. So we get reports all the time of people who has pain reductions or pain level of like 7.5, and it goes down to 0.5 after doing an hour or two of hydrogen inhalation. So very, very powerful effects there. Okay, talk about that. So electrolysis is the easy way to get to hydrogen. And it's 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen when it comes out. It's a mixed gas. So the hydrogeny that we make, our machines deliver it in what's known as Brown's gas form. So it's in a very powerful form that is a little bit more conducive to health, I believe, than just the pure hydrogen, because based on what our customers have told us, they're getting better results with this. So we did a test with BioCare Hospital in Tijuana, Mexico. They did some dark field microscopy, which shows the inflammation markers in the blood that were reduced after ingesting the infused water and using the mixed gas for inhalation. So we've got a couple modes that it can be used with infused water. If you can't afford our machines or aren't interested in moving forward with those, that's no problem. Go on, you can go on Amazon or other marketplaces and pick up a hydrogen water infusion bottle for like $100 or so. And you can usually stay away from the really low priced ones and stay away from the really high priced ones, because the high priced ones are most likely just overpriced mid-range bottles. And then direct application. Now they also were doing rectal gas insufflation through a rectal cannula. But there's ways of easily getting that applied to the body. So if you're going into talk about pre-op and post-op, if you're going in for a procedure or if you're expecting to do something, we were talking, Lauren and I were talking a little bit before we came on the webinar about hyperbaric. Hyperbaric would be best used before and after, because you want the acute effect that the extra oxygen is going to give your body, the boost that it's going to give you, but you don't want the downside for that. And hydrogen will protect you from that. So let's go through here. Post-op. Post-op is excellent. Outpatient. Yes, all this stuff. So massive problems with oxidation stress. There's a fire burning in you. Hydrogen acts as a fire extinguisher for that. But again, it does not interfere with necessary, which is good. It cleans up the free radicals, the nitrogen-based species, etc. And let's go on here into performance. I'm just going to see where I want to go here next. But I don't know if there's any questions yet from the people.
Yeah, we have a few, and I think you might have just answered one of them, but I'm curious about this performance too, because a lot of people that have, have this vaccine injury, have been diagnosed with POTS and things like that. And one of the big things is you have an intolerance to exercise.
Yeah, that's
so I'd be interested in seeing
that
how
was the slide that I just had on there, and of course it restarted from the beginning, so I apologize. Let me get that.
Fine.
Okay, so for performance, they've done human studies with elite athletes. I think there was a soccer team where they gave them the water pre-game and then during the game ad libitum, which means just as they were thirsty and wanted to drink it. And it suppressed lactate in their muscles. So it's the weirdest thing to be pushing as hard as you can. I do high interval training, high intensity interval training, and it's so weird to be pushing. Your muscles are just exhausted and there's no lactic burn. It's the most weird thing ever. After I've worked out my entire life and coming into experiencing hydrogen, it's just so bizarre. And that's what they found was it suppressed lactate in the blood. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? So let me see if I can get to this slideshow without from current slide. Okay, cool. Pick the right one. All right. So yes, they were rapid recovery intra and intra. There was very little DOMS, which is delayed onset muscle soreness. The residual fatigue is almost eliminated entirely. Just crazy effects. And that's just drinking the water. You can amplify that by also adding the inhalation. So what they did was they found that the lower surface tension with the mixed gas infusion, but this is the one I think some people here with the ME/CFS are experiencing the lactate production, and they found that ingestion of the infused water suppressed lactate in the blood. Like I said, they've actually seen that the perception of the athletes was that they had more energy and they had more whatever, but they went beyond that and they actually drew blood to look at it. So down there, the last statement, the blood lactate level does not follow placebo effect. So what they found was that it actually suppressed the lactate. It wasn't just a placebo effect on these. Rapid recovery. It also helps with rouleau, which is the clumping of red blood cells. So that spreads them out, which gives a better surface area for oxygen to be carried in the blood. It actually increases the charge in them. They repel themselves from each other, and they appear in a uniform state. So before and after dark field microscopy, again, shows that effect. So it allows for maximum oxygen carry capacity and also maximum CO2 removal. Yeah, so when you're, the comparison between the drinking of the water, when it hits the body, it has a lot of great effects. When it hits the stomach lining, it does spur ghrelin. It also goes into the intestines and also all the way down even to the colon, and helps with the colon function, intestine function, and also the bacterial function in the colon as well. It actually supplies food to the bacteria down there. So a lot of very powerful effects. It also regulates blood sugar. And so diabetics feel a very positive effect with the hydrogen water. So it quickly saturates. It's available in 12 to 15 minutes and remains in the system. They've measured it for about 60 minutes. I think I've got a slide coming up here. Yes. So this was a case study where they actually had inhalation on three patients, and you can see the rapid rise within about 5 minutes. The blood is nearing saturation on the arterial side, which is in red. The venal side coming back, the veins were coming back. So there was a significant drop in level, which means that it kind of needs to be continuously added into the blood through the lungs. And what happens in the effects is when it's going through the microcirculatory system and circulatory system, think of a soaker hose. A soaker hose that is weeping out of all the pores. So there's nothing that, let's go back to our package delivery analogy. The red blood cells act as little UPS trucks, let's just say, or FedEx trucks for oxygen, to carry the oxygen. And then to the CO2 is then attached and brought back. There's nothing in the blood that carries hydrogen per se. It dissolves into the plasma, and then it just kind of weeps through the cellular walls of the microcirculatory system and randomly comes out, much like a soaker hose, as it goes through the body. So I believe the only organ that they've noticed a lingering effect is the liver. I believe it was the liver. But you can see that you need to do more than 10 minutes of inhalation. If you've got severe inflammation, yes, that will start to control the blood markers, the inflammation markers in your blood, and you'll start to see those effects with dark field microscopy. But you do want to continue that effect because it is random and it's not coming out directly into all areas of the body all the time, because it is a random, like a soaker hose. So I usually say that the deeper effect is felt with longer inhalation regimens. And we've had people, our customers they've run the gamut. I mean, one woman, I believe she had her son on it for 54 hours straight when she first got the machine. Whatever he was suffering from needed to be on that long to overcome it. It may have been massive inflammation. I've had other people who read a mouse study that said after a certain amount of time, the mice started to lose the impact of the hydrogen. I know a little bit more now. I'll talk about that in a second. I would have responded to this woman. She was coming to me with massive inflammation. I said, and she had a machine, and I said, just use it more. Just sleep with it. She was using about 3 hours a day, and that may sound like a lot, but when you're talking about random meetings of hydrogen in cells and inflammation markers and things like that in the body, you have trillions of cells, and there's not that much hydrogen in 10 minutes, right, available to the body. So you need hours to get it there. So she basically got her life back from inflammation at 3 hours. But I told her, I said, if you're still dealing with it, you're not doing enough. So she actually had an inflammation attack she told me about the next day. And she slept with it all night. She remembered that I encouraged her to do that. And she did do it. And she said 100% of the pain was gone and 95% of the inflammation in 8 hours of sleep. And what I do know now that I didn't know then is that the metabolism of the mice is 28 times higher than humans. So if it took 3 months for the mice to lose the effects of hydrogen with continuous application, might not be equal to 28 times 3 months, but it's going to be a lot higher. So the danger of overdoing it and getting an effect where you're starting to lose the effect is probably minimal to none in humans from what I've seen. So yeah, inhalation time, yes, the longer, the deeper the effect, because it is coming out in a random fashion as it moves throughout the body. The other thing to know is inhalation. 1 minute of inhalation is equal to about the same content, same weight of hydrogen in 30 liters of infused water. So there's no way you can drink 30 liters of water a day. And that's 1 minute of inhalation. So the powerful effect of the water when it hits the stomach is not matched by the inhalation, but it's different. So the inhalation is a lot more, it circulates a lot more, but the water has a very powerful effect in and of itself. So I usually tell people when they ask me which is better to do, inhalation or water, I say yes. Both of those are what you want to do. So always answer yes to an or question. Okay. So yeah, so I had a really killer bike ride up here in Northwest New Jersey. And now it's been about 25 years ago when I moved up here, and 800-foot climb with 400 feet of that in less than half a mile. And it's just nasty. I couldn't do that in my 30s every day with residual fatigue. And now I'm able to do that consecutively 7 days a week if I like. And again, it has to do with that lactic burn and the residual fatigue thing. So yeah, that was 54. So it was 6 years ago, almost 7 now. It's crazy. It is crazy what you see on this. The brain, inflammation in the brain is a very huge issue. And a lot of times we talk about that blood-brain barrier being an issue for a lot of antioxidants and a lot of things to get up there. And thankfully, hydrogen is only beneficial and it easily crosses the blood-brain barrier. So even while you're doing inhalation, you've got the that cribriform plate that's in the sinuses there, right underneath the brain, and it's a perforation of the plate. That's actually where they take the swab when they stick it up your nose, or hidden against the cribriform plate, which is pretty controversial in and of itself. But let's ignore that for now. But that is actually accessible to the hydrogen to go right up through the bone there, and then also the cribriform plate, and go right into the brain. And I've had people within minutes of doing inhalation, customers report brain fog clearing based upon that inflammation there. So again, it's just kind of crazy. Parkinson's, yeah, this guy, he was a slurred speech, all the other stuff going on. Motor control was restored. Again, I can't say this will be for everybody, but it is very rapid in its effect in the body. Concussions, again, this is where they did some mouse stuff, and we've actually had some customers with new concussions that were able to resolve them very quickly. And again, this was the oxidation swarm that happens around the injury. Actually, particles break off so high. So injuries that result in inflammation, especially in the brain, can actually break off the little inflammation particles. The little cells from the brain can break off. They go into the blood and they actually circulate and cause issues with inflammation. It raises inflammation across the entire body. And it kind of like the body just gets into a state where it's like, ow, 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 and it doesn't know how to shut down. And that's where chronic inflammation is kind of the stimulus that caused the inflammation initially, the acute has passed, but the body doesn't have the ability to recognize that and correct that. So hydrogen will go in and kind of wake the body up and wake those cells up and say, okay, calm down, everything's fine. You can just kind of relax. So yeah, this is what I was talking about. The brain inflammation particles were found circulating in the blood. And then what happens is they come back to the original site and cause even more damage and more inflammation. So it's kind of a very bad loop of injury that's happening there. But again, quick saturation of blood, rapid distribution. It's within 5-10 minutes you're saturating, and it's going on there. Inflammation markers and inflammation response. It goes, I think there's either 4 or 5 different ways. You can look this up. Go to hydrogenstudies.com and just type in inflammation. You can also look up hydrogen inflammation online. There's some great videos on YouTube. The H2 Hub, Taiwan over there does a really good job with hydrogen videos, answering lots of questions. He actually recommends one of our machines. So it's actually, educate yourself because this is very powerful technology for that. And they know of the effects, and they kind of are guessing at some of the mechanisms. They know some mechanisms and they're guessing at others, but the wide range of help that this gives the body in trying to get back to a healthy homeostatic state is, I think it's unrivaled with anything else out there. It isn't nutrition, so you're still going to have to concentrate on your nutrition and try and get that. I would concentrate on your minerals. A lot of times those are very little. Those have been drained out of the body, or are not balanced correctly, or they're just needing to be. You need more of them, right? You've got a deficiency in that. And then the gut health is also very important that we've found as well. So we've got another company that we make a trace mineral and a probiotic as well. But I just wanted to see, Lauren, if there's anybody that has any questions or needs, more information.
Yeah. Of course, we got a few questions here, and they might take us back a few slides or whatever. But
no worries.
It says, what is the main difference between the straight hydrogen machines compared to the mixed gas machines?
Well, so we term ours, there was a man that came from Europe to the United States in the 70s, 80s, named Yull Brown, Y-U-L-L, Brown, and you can look up Brown's gas. It's an energized gas that comes out. There's a water vapor that's also with it, that's part of the healing. They've done some studies on the plasma that's created, and there's a lot of thought right now based upon studies that it's basically electrons in a plasma state, free electrons. So that rapid recovery that I saw wasn't just due to hydrogen coming into the cells, because when you're in a state of almost death and your organs are shutting down and your blood oxygen content is way down, hydrogen's not going to be the miracle worker there. There's something else that's in this gas. So the PEM SPE machines, they have a membrane between the electrodes that prevents the formation of Brown's gas. Brown's gas has been observed to form in between the electrodes. So you have hydrogen coming off the negative, you have oxygen coming off the positive electrode. And if you put something in between and block that, PEM stands for proton exchange membrane, that's the membrane. And then SPE stands for solid polymer electrolyte. So they're using a solid electrolyte in a polymer in a membrane between their electrodes. Ours are freely standing with alkaline water. And there's a big difference in the output of those machines and the effects of those machines. So that's why we've seen some studies have said, oh, it doesn't do anything for this. And our machine has helped. We've had customers say that cleared it up for me. So yeah, that's the main difference. So just putting, some of the machines are now claiming that they're Brown's gas just because they put the separately created hydrogen and oxygen and they put them back together at the end and give them to you. That's not the case. That's HHO, but it's not Brown's gas. So that's the difference.
Okay. Yeah, I think you just answered another question too,
Okay.
dealing with the Brown's gas. But so kind of a follow on with that is, do we have to worry about the lye being used in these machines affecting us negatively?
Yeah, so we've got that handled. Lye is very hygroscopic, so it's very attracted to water, and you'll see what isn't stated across the planet, and I think it's kind of, I don't know if they do it on purpose, but every inhalation machine on the planet, if you look at it, it has a water bath. It bubbles through water before it's delivered to the cannula. So even the solid polymer electrolyte has electrolyte in it that's in contact with the water, and they even scrub their gas. So yeah, in our case, we double scrub it. It's something that stays in the generator, and odor can escape. Sometimes a little droplet can pop at the top. If you've ever had soda or what's the water called? The bubbly water. And you see the little bubbles form at the top and then pop in a tiny little droplet. Sometimes those can get pushed out. So we double scrub all of our gas to make sure it's pure. The actual, if you look up on Wikipedia and the trade, the engineering specs, alkaline water hydrogen is more pure than the polymer hydrogen that's produced. So yes, the lye is safely handled and no problems. We've got people who are very, very sensitive to odors, and we've got the ability to add extra bubbler cups if you are sensitive. We have one MECFS from this group who has a machine. He felt that he needed a third cup, and so we actually got that for him. So and provided that for him. So he's triple scrubbing his gas. But yeah, that is taken care of and is not an issue.
Nice. So how long can we do this at a time without having issues? I know you mentioned some people 54 hours and things like that. And
yeah, we've had people 18 hours a day to get over their thing. We had a stage 4 cancer survivor who used it 12 to 16 hours a day while she was going through chemo. And at the end of that, she was, I won't say the word, but she was happy. Let's just say she was happy. Very, very happy. And if someone wants to send contact us, we can send out the scans from the Mayo Clinic on that. Can't put it on our website, of course, but we can do that.
Right.
Down here to the, oops, I think I went too far. Let me get down to the, scroll down. I'm just going to put it to the last slide so we have contact. Oh yeah, I mean, we've had these amputation, reattachment. That's within weeks. Left side. And the interesting thing was the doctor said on that middle finger there that she would have sensation on one or the other side of it, but not both. Well, guess what? She got sensation on both. The nerves regenerated on both sides. So again, the people on this webinar who have nerve damage, there's hope. This is able to rebuild nerves. And again, it's neuroprotective, but also we've seen the nerves regrow in this. Burns, every single, this is my wife's wonderful pretty belly. She burned herself scalded herself with hot tea. 30 minutes later, the sensation of burn was gone and the redness was gone. So it's very, very powerful. Here's my contact information. The Molecular H website we don't really do anything more with that anymore, but the gethydrogenie.com is there. So I'll leave this slide up while people are asking questions, and we can answer the questions. That way they'll have my contact information as well.
Okay, I think that answers some more of the questions of people asking how long should we expect?
Is it really? Okay, so
it's
an individual, yeah, it's an individual thing. One size doesn't fit all. if you don't get, if you get results at 1 hour, use 1 hour. If you need 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, try sleeping overnight with it sometimes. Try using it. If you're not doing anything else, and you got nothing else better to do, if you're scrolling through Instagram or, YouTube Shorts, then put the cannula in and use it. Bubble your water occasionally throughout the day, and then, put that cannula in and get it done. Just, it's not going to hurt you. It's only going to move the body. So if what they found was in vitro, so in a petri dish, they put a healthy cell, perfectly working healthy cell, and they administered hydrogen to it, and nothing happened. Now, in the pharmaceutical world, that would be a fail, because they want a change to occur in that cell. In our world, where we don't want the change in a healthy working cell, the hydrogen just went past and did nothing. They actually had to damage the cell to see any kind of changes that hydrogen could affect in that cell. So if you're using it, it's going to move through cells that are already working correctly and not have any effect in them. So you don't have to worry about any kind of imbalance there, like we said earlier.
Nice. So here's another one. Can I do this hydrogen therapy simultaneously with immune therapies like IVIG or rituximab? Also, has hydrogen been shown to reduce reactivated viruses, Lyme disease, mold spores, things like that?
Yeah, we've got a lot of Lyme patients who we've been in business 8 years, and I think we've had 5 machines returned in all that time. And we're going on our 9th year now. But yeah, it's crazy. So everybody gets results. It depends on what the body wants to do first as to what results. The drug interactions and contraindications are very small, very small. There are some people that have conditions, I can't remember the name of them, where it causes like a shortness of breath. You can still do the water, but inhalation can cause a shortness of breath. But it's a very way out there, far out there type of situation that nobody in this webinar has any kind of thing like that. As far as, again, the drug interactions, no, they've been tested with hydrogen, even though they haven't been tested with hydrogen, because it's already available in your body right now. So you are actually taking all those protocols with hydrogen exposure in your body. So yeah, that you're going to give it more, so it's going to have a better effect. And what they have found is that it intensifies in a good way the effect, because it takes down, the body can then focus. So it takes down the stresses that are always on the body, and the body can then focus on the healing. And I tell people all the time, it's like, look, everyone has a gaping, sucking chest wound that their body's working on at any one time. All right, we're always in a state, especially now with all the EMFs and toxins in the environment and chemicals, and they're coming out with new stuff to worry about every day. Number one, calm down and stop worrying, and try and center yourself, because the vibrational states of fear, anxiety, anger, and things like that are very detrimental to health. I watched that Patients Number 2 webinar you guys did. I really liked what Amy said about getting off everything. So I know some people can't because of their conditions, but and at the end of the day, those are pharmaceutical protocols, and pharmaceuticals have effects in the body. And the more closely you can get to your natural body doing natural things, as Amy experienced. She said when she started going off her meds, she, obviously supervised, she didn't just go off them, especially with the cortisone and those kinds of things. The steroids are very difficult. You got to be very careful with that. So please don't get a hydrogen machine and go cold turkey on those. Those can cause really bad effects. But anytime you can go for a more natural approach and let the body take over and run its, it will do what it sees as most important first, and then it will cycle, kind of go out from there and go, circle out from there.
Awesome. So kind of going back to the little bit of the muscle and lactic piece. Does hydrogen reduce lactic acidosis in the muscles? If so, how does it do this in comparison to oxygen treatments like exercise with oxygen therapy?
Well, EWAT, okay, so actually we have got an EWAT adapter, so you can actually add hydrogen to your EWAT, which people say that just takes it to another level. But it does suppress the lactate. They've witnessed it. I don't know the mechanism. I'd have to look it up and find it, or possibly do a search, just hydrogen lactate suppression, the lactic acid suppression, but it does suppress that. So drinking the water has the potential to do that. Now, drinking the water in combination, because I think what people have told me about ME/CFS is that it's a mitochondrial issue with the lactate, the lactic acid. So the hydrogen is definitely going to go in and start helping the mitochondria function correctly. Now, I don't know the damage level that's there. I don't know if someone studied that. I know we're a lot further down the road than 2020 in people understanding what these vaccines did. So I don't know if that information is out there or not. I have not looked that far deeply into it, but you might want to do more information to see what is actual on the mitochondrial damage, and then correlate that to what hydrogen has been shown to correct in the mitochondria. Because if I'm not, Lauren, am I mistaken? Is that correct, that the mitochondria are primarily involved in that bad behavior with the lactic acid, with the ME/CFS?
Um, with
I can't remember.
MECFS,
I can't remember if that
yeah.
is it or not. But in any case, yes, it does. It has been shown to suppress lactate in the muscles. So I know that some people suffer from that. Just getting out of bed is an ordeal. So
Yeah.
if you want to see if hydrogen, if you want to put your toe in the water and see if hydrogen can help with that without getting, spending the money on a Brown's gas machine, like I said, go to Amazon or another trusted source and get make sure that has great reviews. Mid-priced, shouldn't be more than 100, 150 is even reaching for a good hydrogen bottle. You want to look for 3 to 6 ppm on that, and try that out first and see. And if you get benefit with that, then you're going to probably get even more benefit with the Brown's gas. So that's what I would do, is I put my toe in the water first. I know some people on this webinar are struggling financially with, especially with devastation of health. So, put your toe in the water first, see what happens.
All right. So if a doctor, just another question, doctor asks about treatments that they're doing, medications, they're taking, things like that, how do I explain to them what this does, or what information do I point them to? I guess is the main question. Should we point them to the website, or?
Well, yeah, there's all they have to do, like the NIH.gov is just brimming with studies on hydrogen. So the best thing to do is to go there, look up, just do a search on Google. Google is wonderful. You don't even have to go to like the Google Med. I think there's like a medical Google search. I don't even think you have to go there. Just put in hydrogen and whatever disease you're looking for, or hydrogen inflammation. And you're going to get all these studies. Just print out a couple studies, take them to your doctor, say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. There's a lot of press right now, a lot of really great results, a lot of studies, 1,200, I think it's close to actually 2,000 now studies, 170 disease conditions of humans, inflammation, craziness, athletic performance craziness. Can you take a look at this for me? I'd really like to see if I can put this in. And then, you're going to have to maybe do the AMA thing, against medical advice, and go out on your own and explore. And like I said, you can try the very easily, next day delivery. Actually, I was at a location where a friend of mine could get the same day delivery. So just go grab a bottle and get some good spring water. I would stay away from your tap water when you're infusing water. the issue with water and distilled water for drinking for acute situations, I'd say okay, but I would rather do spring water. If it says spring water on it, it has to come from a spring. If you, it's like only for a 24 pack, it's a couple dollars more than purified water. Purified water is city water that's been, run through a carbon block filter to take out the chlorine taste and some minerals added for flavor. So stay away from those and go with spring water and infuse that and see how you feel, see how it does. And then, again, like I said, this is your health. You're the primary custodian of it. Get a second opinion if your doctor isn't amenable to it. Go from there.
Okay. So there's 3 questions we can kind of wrap up into one. People asking, would this work? And I think we kind of talked about this throughout there. Would this work for small fiber neuropathy? Have you seen improvements, scars, and tinnitus?
Okay. Tinnitus, from my understanding, yes, of course, it's going anything that is itis, inflammation.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, it will help. Tinnitus, you can actually lay down on, with our machines, you can actually lay down on the bed, slip the application cup underneath the mattress or on top of your pillow, underneath the pillowcase, and then put your head down on it and let it flow up into I think, if I'm not mistaken, tinnitus has a center in the brain where it emanates from. And I think there's some recent research that shows that supplementation can actually assist with that. So that may be a thing where a deficiency is in play. What were the other conditions?
Scars or small fiber neuropathy.
What was the first one?
Scars.
Scars. Very interesting, because scars are confused cells. So that goes back to the cellular apoptosis. If you missed the first part of our presentation, one of the effects that hydrogen has on cells is it activates cellular apoptosis. It regulates it. So if it's supposed to happen, it happens. If it's not supposed to happen, it doesn't happen. And scar tissue, yes, scar tissue. I had one man, and this one man, he was a rejuvenation, almost at death. He had a friend coming over every day to check on him to see if he had died overnight. That's how bad he was. Got a machine. He looked at the clock. He was a self-taught naturopath. He looked at the clock and said, if I'm not feeling better in 30 minutes, I'm going to the hospital. About 20 minutes before his deadline, the machine arrived that he had bought. He called me up. He had such brain fog, he couldn't even think. I stepped him through how to set it up. He immediately got on it. Within 24 hours, the neighbor who was coming over didn't even recognize him. He's like, what did you do? He's like, he looked that good. He was using it 18 hours a day for probably a month to get back to where he needed. He was having organs shutting down and everything. He was in a bad state. He was riding his bicycle in Texas for 40 miles every day after 30 days after almost dying. And then 5 months later, I get a phone call from him, and he just said, since the 1980s, I had a motorcycle accident and I've not been able to eliminate correctly through my colon. It's been difficult for me. And he says, all of a sudden, it's gone. I am eliminating correctly with no issues. And it took me probably 3 weeks of thinking, like, what could that be? Because this was very early on, and I didn't have too much experience with feedback from customers and telling me all the great experiences. So I thought about it, and it dawned on me that was scar tissue that had built up in his intestines when, whatever damage he had created scar tissue in his colon. And that resolved because of apoptosis. So it cleared out. And we've since that time, I've experienced scar tissue removal, and other people have as well. And it's been documented in studies that, yes, so scar tissue. And then what was the last thing? Sorry.
Small fiber neuropathy.
So I don't know too much about small fiber neuropathy, but I'll give you an example. We've done a couple studies with just informal studies, nothing, like crazy, like the pharmaceuticals do. But we've had great success with neuropathy in feet. So diabetic neuropathy, diabetic, number one, the blood sugar regulates, et cetera, with the water. And my own father, I could just hit him for not taking before and after pictures. So he got set up, and I told him to do the water once a day, at least once a day, and then 30 minutes inhalation in the morning, 30 minutes inhalation in the afternoon. So I called him after 6 days, after he got the machine set up, and said, "So how you doing?" He's like, "Well, my toes are pink." I said, "What does that mean?" He said he had for several years, he had what's known as peripheral artery disease, which is a circulation issue in the legs. And so he had not only gray toes, gray feet, gray legs, because the blood wasn't getting down there, but he had neuropathy in both feet, which makes it very challenging. I think one of your members had stated in that last number 2 webinar, stubbing his toe because he couldn't feel where his feet were moving. And so, yeah, it's a big problem. So in 6 days, drinking the water, 1 glass, he just did the minimum, 1 glass, 30 minutes AM, 30 minutes PM of inhalation. He was able to get rid of neuropathy 100% in both feet, and have his legs were pink and his toes were pink and feet were pink. And so, yes, I don't know about small fiber neuropathy, if it's similar to whatever was experienced. And I've also worked with a few podiatrists who have no answer for neuropathy. And we've had a little success there with that. Now that actually, the success we had, you can have it through, okay, so there's 3 modalities that I talked about. We talked about the drinking the infused water, direct application, and then the third modality was inhalation. So direct application, the way I like to paint the picture in people's brain is inhalation is like the fire department coming out with their hose turned on fog. They're kind of cooling down everything. They're lowering the heat in the entire area where a fire is burning. When you do direct application and you flood the area with a high flow of gas in that one area, yes, some of it's going to get swept away, but it's going to massively impact that one area. That's kind of like the fire department turning their nozzle on full blast and pointing it straight at the fire and going in there. So in the case of the podiatrist, we would actually have a bag put around the legs or around the feet, and also put the gas in there to directly apply that gas for a very intense application. So that would be something to experiment with. I don't know the difference between, if there is a difference between regular neuropathy and small fiber neuropathy. So.
Wow, that's some interesting things. Do we have any other questions? There's a lot of good stuff we've been talking about here. Does anybody have anything else?
I could go from now until 2 days from now with all the stories of all the craziness we've seen, but I know people need to get going.
This is great. And this is fascinating. I know I'm going to start looking into this and doing some research. And
yeah, people can reach out for me. We've got a phone number. We actually forward that nights, weekends, and holidays to our cell phones, because we have people out there who are suffering greatly, and we want to be there for our customers. So, and that is my email address, and I do answer emails. So,
all right. Well, looks like there's no other questions. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on here. I mean, we can all use these types of things, and explore and research ourselves if this will work for us. So, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you on the next one.